A Namibian delegation from the Ministry of Mines and Energy with stakeholders such as Namcor and Petrolfund were in Angola on a mission to operationalize the action related to the MOU that was signed last year between the two countries. The visit was mainly focused on fostering current relations between the two countries, as well as to give Namibia an opportunity to learn the legal framework, the nature of policies which guide them, and the types of models Angola makes use of within the sector. We joined this evening via Zoom by the Mines and Energy Acting Executive Director, Mr. Bryan, Eiseb, to debrief the mission. Mr. Eiseb, good evening and welcome to the Daily Roundup.
To all the viewers.
To start with, briefly talk to us about this fact-finding mission that Namibia undertook in Angola.
Awesome. So you would recall that Namibia and Angola recently, in November 2022, signed an MOU to look at how can we strengthen and foster bilateral relationships, and especially in the oil sector, Namibia having discovered oil recently, So the objectives of the memorandum of understanding that we signed is really focusing on how do we as two countries, and in particular Namibia, leverage the gains that Angola has made since the oil discoveries back in 1955. So our delegation went to visit Angola during the 19th to the 25th of this month, and it was led by Honorable Deputy Minister Cornelia Shilunga and myself. We were also represented as a country by Namcor, the Petrolfund. So this were the institutions that made up the delegation that was in.
And what specific areas were cemented that the two countries will start now focusing on to strengthen these bilateral ties?
Yeah, as I said, the focus was really on the petroleum sector and mining. In particular, we focus on the diamond sector when it comes to mining, and also we focus on collaboration between the geological survey of Namibia and the geological survey of Angola. So those were the key focus areas. In as far as the petroleum sector is concerned, we for example, visited the Barra do Dando in Benguela, where Angola is currently constructing a tanker jetty and storage facility where they will be able to house in excess of 1 billion cubic liters of oil products. And this would certainly make Angola to become strategically very important for the SADC region in as far as energy and petroleum security is concerned for the region. And I think Namibia can just leverage what Angola has done. We also visited the Luanda refinery and the Lubito refinery to again learn from our Angolan counterparts what are the gains that they have made, what are their experience, and Namibia readying itself for this sectoral development. It was important for us to learn from our counterparts in Angola. Angola has been instrumental in our political emancipation, and I think we should build on that relationship which was laid by our forefathers, so that we can now ensure that we accelerate Namibia's development and readiness in as far as it relates to the petroleum sector. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, we also visited what is called the Institute of National Petroleum, which is basically an institution that the Angolan government, in conjunction with the petroleum company Sonangol, has developed and established. The Institute of National Petroleum, for example, gives various courses to young Angolan nationals that wants to qualify, especially in the petroleum sector. And this is where the importance of the Petrolfund and perhaps our Ministry of Education would become important, so that as a country, in again, readying ourselves, we were there to learn what are the courses that Namibians should be undertaking. Are Namibians eligible to come and study at the INP? And the INP has signaled their readiness to receive Namibian students from all walks of life. Obviously, if they meet the entry requirements, they are ready to come and study at the INP, so that they ready themselves for the oil and gas sector that is, just starting to open up in Namibia.
Mm-hmm. Outside of the Institute of National Petroleum, and we'll get into that in just a second, but I want to just understand, what other opportunities within the sector you identified in Angola that Namibia, is able to emulate.
So one of the key areas that we perhaps as a country should be focused, and again, this comes back to the local content. What are the opportunities that the sector presents for Namibian entrepreneurs, Namibian business people, and at large for the ordinary Namibian, who wants to have a piece of the cake in the petroleum sector? And this is where it becomes important. If you look at the whole value chain in terms of the petroleum sector, especially the downstream sector and services provision to the sector, this is where the ordinary Namibian can play a role. Angola, being a leader in sub-Saharan Africa, in as far as the oil sector is concerned, have the ability, for example, to manufacture pipelines, to manufacture various spare parts that would be required in the oil sector, whether it be in establishing and constructing a refinery, or whether it be constructing pipelines, from the production rigs or to onshore. These are all opportunities that exist for Namibians. So I think the opportunities are endless, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, as you mentioned, Angola does have, specific training institutions that focuses on skills required within the oil and gas sector. Now, are we as a country also looking into training, and what would be the advantage for our country if we did do this?
So, as I said, the Institute of National Petroleum in Angola is a well-established institution that is accredited by various bodies globally. And I think as a country, Namibia, we could, in the beginning stages of our development, send our students to the INP for obtaining these desired qualifications, for ensuring that our Namibian students and those that desire to qualify in the sector is accredited by an institution that is globally recognized. Otherwise, we always run the risk of fly-by-night institution that could be set up and take advantage of the opportunities in the sector. But the INP has demonstrated over years that they have the capacity, they are accredited, and they have gained the experience, and also can make tailor-made courses for the industry specific. For example, an Angolan child that is 15 years of age can, at a certain point in time of his high school career, decide that I want to join the oil sector. That child would be eligible to go to the INP and pursue studies up to grade 12 that is tailor-made or specific in the oil and gas sector, after which he or she can continue to qualify further in postgraduate studies. So these are opportunities that we can, through the Petrolfund, which is obviously the funding mechanism, we can ensure that our young Namibians are sent to the INP, which is just across the border, by the way, and visit or study there. And if they want to come home, they could do that at any point.
The diamond sector was also on a benchmarking mission. What notable lessons did you observe pertaining to this industry?
So again, despite Angola producing, kimberlite or open pit mining, open pit diamonds, in contrast to our alluvial diamonds, what we have found in Sao Remo, the state company Indiama and Sodium has established a diamond hub up north. And this is a completely integrated system. In other words, from production up to cutting and polishing and basically adding domestic or local value in the diamond sector has been so profound. I think this is, again, Namibia, we are planning to establish a similar diamond hub, and this is not something new. If you look at Botswana has established a similar diamond hub, obviously a little bit smaller in size than that of the Angolan counterpart. But what the Angolans have done is that, for example, they allow a certain, or they require a certain amount of the diamonds that are produced in the country. It must be cut and polished domestically to add value and obviously creating jobs. So, and the beauty part of this is that there's some form of a decentralized system where not everything is concentrated in the capital city, but it's really taking business to the local communities. And then this is what we need to aspire as a country, that, where the natural resources are mined, we should be able to establish infrastructure in those areas where the natural resources are mined, so that we do create local beneficiation in those areas, but generally in the country itself.
Yeah. As you mentioned, Namibia does want to establish something similar to this diamond hub that Angola has. I want to know how, imperative it is that a country creates a system that is, self-sufficient.
Say again, I didn't hear you well.
My question was in relation to this diamond hub that Namibia would also like to emulate, something that Angola has. How imperative is it that a country creates a system that is self-sufficient?
Yes, I think the Namibian government, and if you look at the Ministry of Mines and Energy, we have the beneficiation strategy. So again, this is not something new. What we need to do is we simply need to give or make this effective. We need to put it into practice, where it remains important that any country, and in this case Namibia, when we exploit our natural resources, which is finite, by the way, we need to ensure that we create local capacity. We need to create opportunities for Namibians to enter into those sectors, become globally competitive, and also ensure that we add value, domestic value, local value to the products. We cannot longer have a situation where our natural resources are exported to other countries, and at the expense of Namibians, we create jobs in other countries. And this is really what is happening in a lot of the sectors, particularly in the diamond sector. I mean, you for example, have a country like India that hosts the biggest diamond cutting and polishing infrastructure and industry globally. Yet India does not really produce any diamonds. So we need to create a domestic environment where our Namibians can be taught, capacity being built, and we create local benefits before these products are exported.
Yeah. Finally, Mr. Eiseb, what do you hope for the country's mines and energy sector, given such fact-finding missions in its bid to improve the industry?
I think generally, if you look at the contributions of the mining sector to GDP, where we find ourselves as a country is a pivotal point in history. I think if we put the right policies in place, if we reform our laws, which by the way is one of the areas that we have benchmarked or looked into in Angola, having, you know, reformed their laws on an evolutionary basis, one of the things that we need to do, and very expeditiously, is to reform our legislative and governance environment when it comes to natural resources. And in doing so, we will definitely create the Africa that we want. We will create the Namibia that we want, where the common man is being looked after. Our natural resources cannot be said or seen to achieve what it's supposed to achieve, the empowerment of the common Namibian, if we still have unemployment in our country. We need to ensure that what we have seen is being put into practice. We are going to emulate it. We're going to create an environment where we're going to reduce unemployment in Namibia using our natural resources as a catalyst in that regard.
Mr. Eiseb, thank you so much for your time this evening, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a pleasant evening.
That was the Acting ED of Mines and Energy, Mr. Bryan Eiseb, speaking to us via Zoom. We'll be right back after the short break.